All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And good evening, one and all, and welcome back to the X Zone. My name is Rob McConnell, and for the next 4 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we'll cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern, right here from our broadcast center and studios in Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And to find out what's going on here in the X Zone Nation, visit our website, xzoneradiotv.com. And for all the programming we have available, 7/24, 365 on the X Zone TV channel that is exclusive to Simul TV. Visit www.simultv.com. Well, here we are another day, and we're going to be talking, well, you know, this is Halloween week, right? So we have to talk about ghosts. We have to talk about things that go bump in the night. And are we getting closer to discovering what is behind the phenomenon? Is it something that has been with us from day one, that's the very dawn of history? Or is it something that happened in between? And if so, what caused it? Well, our guests tonight, throughout the night, are going to help us understand that. And our first guest tonight is NICOLE Strickland. And we've had the pleasure of having NICOLE on the show many times. And she's also always a welcome guest. We're going to talk to her about spirits, communication, near-death experiences, and much more. Yeah. NICOLE, welcome to the show, dear.
Oh, thank you so much for having me back. It's always such a pleasure talking with you.
So what has been new since you and I last talked before COVID?
Oh, gosh, I know. We're going on about, I think, a couple of years.
Yeah.
Well, I actually, no, I mean, I'm doing the same thing. Not as many investigations, of course, with COVID. So in this last year, I'm actually doing a lot of internet radio. So I came out with my own show, The Afterlife Chronicles, on Thursday night from 6 Pacific to 7 p.m. Pacific, of course, 10 Eastern, 9 Eastern, I mean. And then also I co-host Haunted Voices Radio with my good friend Todd Bates on Tuesday nights at the same time on his network, the WLTKDB network. So I've been doing a lot of internet radio, and it's a lot of fun meeting a lot of new people and talking with a lot of great investigators and authors and psychic mediums and people of that nature. And then let's see, I'm trying to think what else. I finished a book. It was this coming May is going to be 2 years, and it's due out, I think, fall of this year, but it might, because of COVID, it might be moved more toward spring. And so that's also called The Afterlife Chronicles, exploring the connection between life, death, and beyond. So those are the two big new things, but everything else is, you know, same old.
Let our listeners know how you got involved in the paranormal.
Oh my goodness. It goes back to when I was a child. I mean, I've always had that innate interest. And then with being a young child, I can remember having very interesting experiences as young as 4 or 5 years old. So that interest stayed with me even through middle school and high school. And I, you know, before the internet, I tried to get my hands on books and articles, anything about ghosts, anything about hauntings, the paranormal, I would read. But then, of course, in my college years at the University of Arizona, and I share this a lot, on shows and in presentations, I actually had a very profound experience with my maternal grandmother's spirit. And to this day, I don't know if the experience was more or less a bereavement hallucination on my part or whether it was actually her communicating to me. I kind of tend to believe it's more of the latter. So that right there just catapulted me out into active investigation, and that's what I've been doing ever since, investigating primarily ghosts, spirits, and hauntings, that category of the paranormal, because there's so many branches, private homes, historical sites, businesses, you name it. And so that's what I've been doing with my team here in San Diego since since her passing. So
Wow.
like 2001, I think, is when I started investigating. So it's been a journey. It really has.
Why is it with all the groups that are out there every night investigating the paranormal, looking for proof of the existence of the afterlife, that after all these years, nothing is new? Nothing is turned up that is awe-inspiring or the smoking gun. We seem to be in a
Right?
standstill. Why is that?
I think about this on a daily basis. That is such a good question. I'm wondering if part of it is that there are new hints and we're just not seeing it. I think that and this could be part of it too, but you have two categories of investigators. You have the more of the parapsychological, more academically inclined investigators, and then you have just paranormal researchers, and then you have those that aren't necessarily interested in the research end of it, which is not a bad thing. They're more or less interested in the thrill seeking and the fun and the sensationalism of it. So I'm wondering if that could be part of the reason too. And I think the field, I want it to become more of an academic field like it was. And I'm seeing it more going down the entertainment sensationalistic
Yeah.
route. And I'm wondering if that could be contributing to that. But I think about that all the time, and so.
Could it be that the paranormal is now being turned into an industry instead of a scientific quest? You have it's called paratourism now,
And
and
it really is.
I think
Yeah.
that the public is saying, "Hey, wait a minute! All these people are doing is trying to get the buck out of my pocket." And sure, there's thrill seekers who want to take these tours, who want to provoke spirits, who want to act like total jerks. But when it comes to the established researchers like yourself, Dale Kaczmarek, to name two that I know, how does this make you feel?
I'm one of these. It's kind of a thorn in my side, and I'm a little bit probably more vocal than I should be. It's one of those things. And look, I love entertainment. Do not get me wrong. I love it. It's great. But it's like I think it should be kept separate from working with the afterlife. I think entertainment is a great medium for educating people about what authentic paranormal research is, not sensationalistic TV show paranormal, which is what people see these days.
Yeah.
So I think that, entertainment realm can really do a lot to educate on not only the different methodologies and the science behind it and the esoteric and the metaphysical, but it can also educate on what our findings are thus far and talk a little bit about some of the ghost stories and dissect them and break them down to try to explain and see, wow, can the paranormal be explained? I wish it would do more of that instead of just almost make the afterlife and all these energies kind of put them in like a circus environment as though they're there for our amusement. So it's something that I'm very vocal about and I don't necessarily agree with. So some people don't let it bother them. It bothers me, but hey, that's me.
Well, it also bothers other credible investigators out there. You're not alone. I've heard a lot of credible investigators who've been in this field for years and who take it very seriously
Right.
express the same opinion that you just did.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And here we are, Halloween week, and everybody and his uncle who has a farm now has a haunted hayride, haunted haunted barn. You've got haunted ghost houses at all the major amusement parks. And I think that this is not helping credible paranormal investigations.
It's not. It's establishing. It's almost making a mockery out of it, and I don't know if this is going to change anytime soon. I am one of these. I just wrote a post about this a couple of weeks ago on my Facebook, and I was vocal, and I said I believe Halloween and the Americanized, imaginative Halloween with all its cast of characters, that should be separate from the afterlife and paranormal and not lump them together. And oftentimes you see them both lumped together, and it makes it sound like, someone's deceased grandmother or grandfather is
Yeah.
a character cast out like Not Scary Farm, for example. And it's upsetting to me.
I find that there are a number of paranormal investigators who actually are very disrespectful towards the departed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that entertainment is the big cause
Yeah.
of that, sadly.
All right, my friend, please stand by. You and I have to take our first break, and Exonation Nicole Strickland and I will return on the other side of this break. But if you'd like to find out more about Nicole, visit www.authornicolestrickland.com and or www.sandiegoParanormalResearch.com, and we'll both be back on the other side as the X Zone continues right here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in beautiful Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada.
Stuck on you. Got this feeling down deep in my soul that I just can't lose. Guess I'm on my way. Needing a friend, and the way I feel now, I guess I'll be with you till the end. Guess I'm on my way. Mighty glad you stayed.
And welcome back, everyone. For all our listeners here in the province of Ontario, as well as Western Ontario, Eastern Ontario, throughout the states, until from Ontario down to the state of New Jersey, we're going to be changing and adding a new affiliate to our list of affiliates in the very near future, and you'll be able to hear us on an AM radio station. It's going to be from 3 o'clock until 5 o'clock live, and then from 10 o'clock until midnight live 5 nights a week. Keep on listening for more details or visit our website at xzoneradiotv.com. Nicole Strickland's our special guest. 2 websites. Let me see, author NicoleStrickland.com and SanDiegoParanormalResearch.com. Nicole, what has been your most scary or most haunting case that you've ever worked on?
I'm one of these that I don't get scared often when I'm on cases. I mean, of course, you can be startled and have something happen that you least expect, but it's just, working with earthbounds and spirits, it's just something that doesn't really scare me. Gosh, I'm trying to think oh my God, there have been so many, my goodness, I'm trying to think and I'm drawing a blank. I mean, I don't share this that often, but, and this is a location that is a little bit north of Los Angeles up in Camarillo. I'm going to kind of keep the location confidential. Those of us in Southern California and California will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's an old, hospital that is now turned into a university. That's all I'm going to say. And I was there one night, and this is one experience out of so many that I've had that I actually felt alarmed and that I actually needed to step out of the building. So we were in one of the rooms there, and I was setting up a static infrared video camera. And so I set it on a tripod and I had it running and I was behind the camera. And I sat down for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, and there were about 5 of us there, and we all saw this 6 to 7 foot tall, or what looked to be that tall, a dark shadow figure just emerged out of nowhere and came at us super, super fast. And I don't run, I just don't. But I just got out of the building as fast as I could. And so that's an experience that comes to mind. But I mean, there have been so many between the private residences and the historic cases and businesses that I've had, just a plethora of personal experiences, whether it's visual sightings, disembodied vocalizations, being touched, for example. Investigated an old prison in LA. It was an old women's prison. Oh, this was about maybe 9-10 years ago. And this is probably the most profound experience I've ever had, a tactile experience where I actually felt someone put their hand on my shoulder and actually yank on my hair. I don't think it was intending to scare me. It was just that's how I felt it. So there have been so many. I mean, we'd be here like 10 hours talking about it.
Why do you think those on the other side are trying to communicate with us? And if they are trying so hard, how come they don't communicate with everybody?
Excellent question. These are such good questions, and I think these are questions that we need to explore and look at further. Now this is just my opinion, and take it or leave it. I feel that there's this connection between mortality and the afterlife, and it's always been there. I mean, you can go way back to the dawning of man, and there's experiences that people have had. But this connection between both worlds is almost getting closer and closer and closer and overlapping in many ways. And I feel it could be due to many reasons. Nowadays, there are a lot more challenges for us. People are hurting each other. There's a lot of turmoil going on. So I feel that the afterlife and those that are highly evolved in the spirit realms and have gone through the ranks of spirithood, if you will, I think that they are trying to reach out and offer assistance, give messages, that sort of thing. And just with the interest, just in general, people's interest in the paranormal, so to speak, and the afterlife, that's fueling it too. So there's almost this duality between both worlds, but it's something that we really need to pay attention to. I'm not sure if we're ever going to get the answer to that, but it's definitely something that we need to really critically look at.
That you just brought up an interesting point that we never may find the answer. But what happens if we do? What happens to society in general if it is proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is an afterlife, that it's not all hype, it's not all supposition, it's not all based on a person's belief, it's not based on any psychosis, but it's fact? How will this change, in your opinion, society?
I think we're going to get very enlightened when this day comes. If it comes, I think it's going to open people's eyes. I think it's going to cause just a blast of major epiphanies for a lot of people, and their doubts are going to be washed away, and just the connecting. It'll allow them, those that are skeptical and those that are even cynical, with that proof, they can say, wow, I was wrong. There is life after death. And I think it's going to really help with grief. It's going to help with a lot of human suffering. That's my opinion. I hope one day we can get there, but I don't know if we will. I really don't.
But how will this affect the different religious philosophies? Will it hurt the philosophies? Will it enrich the philosophies? Or will this be the end of religion as we know it?
That I think it depends on the type of religion and how individually, if per person, how much that individual is attached to that certain religion. I think it could go either way. It could be a combination of both, where it can help. It can maybe help to explain certain dogmas and things like that, or it can hinder it, and in some ways can hinder it and cause more of a disconnect between different religions. It's hard to know. I don't know. I think it's probably a combination of both. would be my opinion.
What percentage would you give, based on your experience and the investigations that you do and the other investigators that you know and that you share information with, out of 100%, what is the percentage that you would give to people who believe that there's parapsychology or paranormal activity happening within an area, and when the paranormal investigators get there, they find nothing?
So, believing that, there is something existing even though there's nothing found.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I would say definitely over 50%. I
Really?
would say
Wow.
more like maybe between 60 and 70, especially now because it's so saturated in our environment. And
Yeah.
even though these shows aren't necessarily an accurate depiction of what paranormal research is, it's still allowing people that aren't necessarily exposed to investigating and researching the unknown. It's giving them a glimpse into what we do and allowing them to kind of open up their minds a little bit. So I think that I would say maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it would have been a lower percentage, but that I'm seeing increasing just because more and more people are open to sharing their own experiences, whereas 20 years ago, they would be, tight-lipped about it.
And of course, we saw the same thing within the UFO community as soon as the X-Files came on, and then Unsolved Mysteries and all the other TV shows, that all of a sudden everybody was seeing UFOs where UFOs were never seen before.
Exactly. And I mean, and then that's a good point you raise, because in all those increased sightings, how many of those are true in nature or based on power of suggestion or pareidolia or whatever?
Right.
So good questions.
That is so true. What would be your first step? Somebody calls you up and you and your team decide to further investigate the call from the client. How do you proceed?
So, well, it depends. If it's a historical case, it's a little bit different. I guess I'll go more along the lines of a private residence or a business case that isn't an actual historical site. Well, usually, it's an email or word of mouth, and we tell them to fill out our questionnaire on our website, which is pretty extensive. Once we receive that, and some teams would be like, why do you do this? For me, it's just I kind of weed out the serious versus those that maybe just watched a horror movie and saw something in their house and they're just nilly-willy writing us. But we'll say, once we receive that questionnaire back, take your time with it, let us know, and then we'll schedule a phone conversation with the client just to kind of corroborate what's on there, get a little bit of a better idea of what's going on in the home. And on that initial phone interview, you can kind of not try to trip them up, but you can compare what they say on the phone to what they write down. If there's any sort of discrepancies there, you can clarify with the client. And then it's the process of, based on that, deciding whether or not to go to the actual site and do a preliminary walkthrough, and discussing with the client. It's a collective decision whether to pursue an actual paranormal case study or if it's just more or less kind of a phone consultation.
Nicole, I hate to do this. I hate to do this.
Their home.
I hate to do this, Nicole, but I've got to take my break, so please stand by.
Do we have to break?
Yes, we do. Exonation,
Okay.
Nicole Strickland is our guest. Author NicoleStrickland.com and San Diego ParanormalResearch.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
That I just can't lose. Guess I'm on my way. Needed a friend, and the way I feel now, I guess I'll be with you till the end. Guess I'm on my way. Mighty glad you stayed.
Swaying room as the music starts, strangers making the most of the dark. Two by two their bodies become one. smoky air. Can't you feel the weight of my stare? You're so close but still a world away. What I'm dying to say is that I'm crazy.
And welcome back, everyone. Nicole Strickland is my special guest this hour. www.authorNicoleStrickland.com and San Diego Paranormal Research.com. I'm sorry I had to cut you off because of that darn news break at the bottom of the hour.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. Please do.
I apologize for that. So could you
No
please
worries.
could you please continue?
So yeah, what I was saying, I should have elaborated on sooner, but you want to, especially with private residence clients, you want to right away try to establish the stability in that client. If you're suspecting any sort of really serious health issue or illegal medication usage, or even just typical pharmaceutical usage where they're medicated heavily, or if there's any sort of emotional distress or any sort of issues that within the family dynamic that would hinder the paranormal case study, or a paranormal case study hindering that family dynamic further, you need to kind of figure that out. So approaching that is I would assume, a lot like social work. So you want to make sure that your clients understand what you're going to do, why it's being done, and to make sure that everyone in that home, the adults, of course, are in agreement as to a case study being done. That's one of our cardinal rules. If let's say we've had this happen where the husband wants us, but the wife doesn't, if all the adults that are residing in the home aren't in agreement, we won't come out. That doesn't mean we're not going to stop providing assistance, maybe, or discussing stuff on the phone. But so I think that's paramount. And then, you go out and do your preliminary work there, getting an idea of the layout of the site, hot spots where the claims are, preliminary photographs and environmental readings and all of that. And so just important to always keep your clients in the loop as to what's being done as the study is going on. And then, of course, confidentiality is a huge point as well. I'm kind of veering away from your initial question, but it's just a step-by-step process, because there are a lot of teams that are going in and they don't really put the client's safety first and foremost, or themselves. All they care about is, sadly, just going in and getting evidence, regardless of what's going on with the family. And that is just something you do never want to do. So
the collecting of evidence that is acquired, what happens with this evidence?
So with us, we collect it, we review it. It's time consuming to go over all the audio and the photographs and video, and then comparing those findings to environmental data such as EMF monitoring and ambient temperature readings and that sort of thing. And then that's more tangible data. And then you have the personal experience category. And we still, let's say you have a case where you don't really get a lot of, let's say, hard data, but it's more, I guess, circumstantial, if you will. It's more personal experiences. You don't want to leave that out. That still goes in the case report. So we document it, we save it, we write a detailed case report, we give a copy to the client, and then we keep a copy for ourselves as well. So what we give the client, we also have a copy for ourselves. So, and then it's important to sit down with them and then go over it bit by bit, allow them to review it and see, because a lot of times when you're in the client debrief or the client meeting, you may have a piece of, let's say, an audio capture that it's something anomalous, but you really can't further explain it. But when the client listens to it, they'll be like, "Oh, wait, yeah, that's Grandpa Bob." They'll recognize the voice, or they'll be able to provide a little bit more information about that. And that's always so interesting when that happens.
In your opinion, do any aspects of the paranormal pose a threat to the safety of the client?
the actual research part of it, or just or more or less the findings?
Well, let's say you go into an establishment where the client has been reporting to you that there's been physical contact between the unseen entity and them. They have scratch marks. There's poltergeist activity.
Yeah, that's a good. Usually when it's that, I mean, it's very easy, and I'm kind of go on a tangent here. I don't mean to, but I'm trying to make a point.
Sure.
So with all of the shows out that are primarily focusing on energies and places being demonic and malevolent, it's now causing an influx of people to send, at least for us, and I've talked with other colleagues as well, same for them, where they'll get emails from private residence clients saying, oh my God, there's something in my home. We think it's evil. More so now in the last 2 or 3, 4 years than previous. So I attribute that to the shows and a lot of that. So going in, and I think it's important not to immediately say, oh my gosh, yeah, you have scratches. That definitely means it's a demon. But you want to examine what's going on with those scratches, what happened before it. Was it something like during sleep? Is there a possibility that they scratched themselves? Things like that. So you want to like dissect those experiences bit by bit, and instead of alarming the client and assuming it's something negative, explain what else it could be. So you're trying to reassure without alarming them so much. I mean, even with scratches, and I have a theory here that you can get, now the Trinity, people think that, oh, if they have the 3 scratch marks, it's the Trinity and it's, demonic and all that. Maybe in rare cases it is, okay? Maybe in rare cases it is. But when our bodies touch something hot, or if we were to touch an electrical wire and it goes off, our skin's going to turn red and burn. So with the theory of ghosts and spirits made up of some sort of electrical energy, and that's what they're made up of, if they touch us, that could be why our skin reddens. So it's not the intent of the energy to scratch, it's our assumptions that that's what it's doing.
Well, here's a question. Here's a question. If ghosts are made up of energy that can actually burn, how come they cannot be seen with the naked eye? Because in order for something to burn, it has to be above a certain degree, and that certain degree could not be dampened by any non-seeing force. So
right.
if something's
that's interesting. I mean, it's like that's
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just you have all these theories, and that's something I've thought of too. It's like, why aren't they more visible? I mean, this defies science, but it's just it's I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to figure that out.
Is it possible that paranormal research is looking in the wrong direction, or using the wrong equipment to try and detect what they believe is there?
I think that's a huge possibility. I mean, you have people that are strictly adhering to the gadgets and the tools, and it's almost like every day there's a new gadget coming around. I think that it's harmful to use too much equipment, because we don't know if some of this equipment could be harmful for energies. We really don't. Or in the case, let's say they're not, maybe too much of it would be an annoyance for them. So I'm one of these that likes to go into a situation, less is more. And I feel that we need to concentrate more on what our bodies, our human bodies and our senses are telling us. I think there's almost a reliance too much on this outside equipment than it is paying attention to our bodies and what that's telling us. And then of course you have the esoteric and the metaphysical aspect as well. So I find that a blending of, and some people cringe at this, that's fine, but science or scientific like gadgets, I mean, there's no such thing as a ghost detector, but using those in combination with a mediumship or intuition and the esoteric sort of methodology, I think that can open more doors. But what I would like to see done is more monitoring of the human body, brainwave activity, heart rate, heart rhythms, and that sort of thing on an investigation, and seeing if there's any correlation. Let's say you have 4 hours of EMF readings that are recorded. Well, and then you compare those readings, for example, to maybe EEGs or EKGs to see if there's any weird correlation. So I think we need to kind of step out a little bit and branch off, and I think we're stuck in a rut doing the same methodology over and over and over.
Yeah.
And let's be creative and try to find some new methods.
All right, please stand by, Nicole. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. But before we go, Exonation, don't forget this weekend, November 3rd. Next weekend on November the 6th. Got my notes mixed up here. Travis Walton International Skyfire Summit is on. It's online. It's $10 for the entire day. For more information, visit theobservationdk.com. That's Travis Walton International Skyfire Summit. Online November 6th, $10 US, and it's theobservationdk.com. And Nicole Strickland and I will be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our Broadcast Center studios in Crystal Beach, Ontario, Canada. And don't forget to check out my most favorite radio station. If you like classic rock, classic talk, check out Classic 1220. And that's classic1220.ca. And of course, I'm talking about Classic 1220 CJ CFAJ 1220 AM.
Playing room as the music starts.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and Mutual Broadcast Network. Nicole Strickland is our special guest this hour, and we're talking about ghost hauntings, things that go bump in the night. And Nicole, when it comes to a near-death experience, where does that fit into the paranormal? Or is this something that is totally different and more in the spiritual realm?
I would classify it more in the spiritual realm. I mean, you're dealing with the possibility, and there's a lot of research that's been done on this. Can we say that, for 100% without a reasonable doubt that the soul lives on after the body ceases to function? I don't know if we can say that, just the same thing as with ghosts. We can't 100% prove ghosts. Can we prove that? I'm not so sure, but there's a lot of research and a lot of experiences that are leaning us in the direction to say that, yes, the soul does live on after the body ceases to function. So I would classify near-death experiences more in that, I guess, for me, spiritual category. And there have been people, all walks of life, different areas of the world. There have been numerous studies. New York University, for example, Langone's Medical Center, directed up by Dr. Sam Parnia, he's the director of resuscitation research there at NYU, has conducted the largest NDE study of its kind. And so it's definitely something that more research is needed. And I believe wholeheartedly that the human soul can, in its own weird, interesting way, separate itself from the body and continue on without needing the organ systems of that body. So
but that in itself, and the research that's being done into near-death experience, wouldn't that not be proof that if there is the near-death experience where the soul actually goes practically to the other side but returns, doesn't that work as proof for the paranormal?
you would think, yeah, I would classify it as that, but there's some people that still, they just want that, and I'm not trying to criticize,
Sure.
they want that hardcore scientific proof. But all these studies that have been done, and I mean, going back to Raymond Moody, he's like the father of NDEs,
He
and
sure
with
is,
his
yeah.
book Life After Life, I think is what it was, that he wrote in 1975, Life After Life. He had people coming to him after he wrote that book from Western and non-Western religions and cultures that talked about their experiences similar to those that he described. And he's collected over 150 NDE accounts from individuals, and that's how the International Association for Near-Death Studies was formed. So, and then with, Dr. Sam Parnia's research and many other institutions that have done research into NDEs, I would think with all of that collected, and there have been a lot of it, that it should constitute as proof.
I agree.
Yeah.
Here we are. This is, let me see, this is Wednesday. This coming Sunday is Halloween. Now, as a paranormal researcher, how do you feel about Halloween when people, put on the costumes of goblins, ghosts, and the media, makes it up to be a big deal? And I personally believe that Halloween is sponsored by the Canadian and American Dental Association, but what?
I know, right? Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I'm one of these, like I said earlier, I'm very vocal on this. I think that the typical Americanized version of Halloween with its cast of characters, and of course, one of the cast characters is a ghost.
Yeah.
You have the goblins and the witches and the ghouls and the vampires. That is separate. That should be separate 100% from authentic, real life paranormal research and the afterlife. The only connection that I can see that to me would bring the two together is the fact that it's thought, now there's no proof of this, but it's thought that the veil between our world, living world, and the afterlife is thinnest around Halloween. So that, in a sense, I can argue, yes, do paranormal investigations and case studies around Halloween with the full moon and all of that, just to see if, and do this for several years to see if you get an influx of data as opposed to other months. But other than that, I'm tired of media and Hollywood blending paranormal research and real life spirits into Halloween as though they're a cast of characters at Disneyland. I don't agree with it. I just don't.
Well, here's something I don't understand as a parent and a grandparent. Oh, by the way, Exonation, we found out that one of our granddaughters is going to have a baby in March, so that makes Laura and I great-great-grandparents. Woohoo!
Wow! Congratulations!
Thank you. We have 6 children, and we have 14. This will be 15th grandchild.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is amazing.
So thank you for that. What I don't understand is that we as parents teach our children not to talk to strangers, not to take candy from strangers, except on Halloween, where you talk to strangers asking them for trick or treat, and you take the candy from strangers. So I think that this is sending a very mixed message to our kids.
It is,
Yeah.
very much so. And then that too, I mean, when growing up, you're taught, ghosts and Halloween, ghosts and Halloween. And of course, people like myself, I know that the cast of characters of Halloween are completely imaginative and fake and all that. I don't attribute them to real life paranormal energies, but some people may have a hard time distinguishing that even on a subconscious level. And so the Food Network, for example, I love the Food Network, but by having the host of the TV show, I think it's Ghost Adventures, host one of the shows, that's great and all, but that it subliminally is giving off a message that Halloween and the paranormal are one and one, and they're not.
Yeah, I used to watch the Food Network a lot, but my doctor told me I couldn't because I was gaining too much weight.
I love the Food Network.
Oh, God.
I really do. But
I sit there and I'm watching, and my wife will look at me and she'll say, "No, I'm not cooking. No, I'm not calling out for a
don't
pizza."
watch it when you're hungry.
Yeah,
that's for
gosh,
sure.
don't. Trick or treat. I remember when we were kids, when we first started going out, my brother and I, it used to be charity please that you'd ask at the door. And then it changed to trick or treat. And then we used to get little UNICEF boxes. And you'd go door to door saying trick or treat and money for UNICEF. And nowadays it's, I don't know. Everything is changing so fast. But I agree with you.
It really is.
But I agree with you that there should be the line drawn between the entertainment values of the paranormal and the serious research that you and, like I said, people like you and Dale and many of the other credible investigators and investigation teams that we've had on this show, and we still get on the show, is because you and your people are the real McCoy. You're not in it for the sensationalistic value. You're not in it for the entertainment value. You're in it to establish, to find, to research, and bring forth the truth. And I commend you for that.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. That really does touch me greatly. That means a lot.
So what's next for you?
Oh my goodness, paranormal wise. Let's see. I'm just continuing on with Haunted Voices Radio and the Afterlife Chronicles. I've taken some time. Well, I've written some articles and things like that, but it's weird because normally I'll write a book and then I'll maybe couple months later start a new one. But I have all these ideas, but I just don't know which one to start. So I have an idea of one that I'm going to start. It's one that I've made an outline for, and then I'm actually. Speaking of books, I'm co-authoring along with Marie Jones and Denise Agnew on a book as well for 2013. So that's going to keep us busy because we have to interview a bunch of people. So, but let's see, that's about it. With COVID now, our tour should resume in 2022, and then getting back into some cases. We have some library cases coming up.
Super.
So
now you were saying that you're going to be doing a book with Anne-Marie Jones, who we've had on the show many times, a great lady. But you said 2013.
Did I? Oh
Yeah.
my God. You know what? When it came out, it sounded wrong. I'm sorry. 2023 is
why I was asking was I was just wondering if something happened in 2020, in 2013 that nobody knew about.
Going back in time.
Yeah, and that you were going to surprise the world with. No. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, it didn't sound right, but then I didn't catch myself. So thank you. Yeah, 2023 is it's slated for.
Hey, Nicole, as always, time goes by so fast when you're with us. First of all, thank you so much for the great work you do and for coming on the show. But let our listeners know how they can find out more about you and where they can get your products and listen to you online.
Absolutely. So my website's authorNicoleStrickland.com. It's being redesigned right now. San Diego Paranormalresearch.com, and then a little site I have for the Queen Mary, SpiritedQueenMary.com. I'm on Instagram, author Nicole Strickland, Twitter, SDPRS Nicole, and then of course I'm on Facebook as well. And then my books, you can find them pretty much anywhere books can be sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, a lot of the online retailers. And then my Queen Mary ones can be purchased on board the ship as well. It's closed now, but when it opens, you can get those on board as well.
Nicole, take care of yourself, and thanks again for joining us. Be safe, my friend.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
You too, and happy Halloween.
You too.
All right, X Zone Nation, we'll be back on the other side of this news break as we continue right here in the X Zone from our broadcast center and studios in Crystal Beach, Ontario. Once again, Nicole Strickland has been my guest, and if you'd like to find out more about Nicole, visit authorNicoleStrickland.com or San Diego Paranormal Research.com.
But I